Doesn't everyone have these kinds of feelings, right? Everyone does, even that person you usually think doesn't care about their appearance, who has a really easygoing personality, or even the one in class that everyone picks on, he still has his own sense of self-respect. Everyone definitely does. All right, welcome to this series, Beginner's Easy Guide to Learning Zi Wei Doshu. As long as you understand how to interpret the stars on your natal chart and apply it to your own chart, you'll know what kind of person you are. Since we're talking about this topic, and since it's called Zi Wei Doshu, we should start with the Zi Wei Star, right? After all, it's named after it. So, what is the Zi Wei Star? Traditionally, there are many different names for it. Some call it the center of the earth, or say it's the emperor, and so on and so forth. As we mentioned in the previous video, all of these stars actually represent the 14 types of personality values within us. So we should understand it from this perspective. All right, this way you'll better understand what the ancients meant when they talked about these things, and you won't be confused by some of the classical texts. So what is the Zi Wei Star? Why is it called the Emperor's Star? The ancients regarded a person as a small country or a small company. In such a small country or company, who is the one who enjoys all the honor and glory? It must be the emperor, right? So the Zi Wei Star, what it actually discusses is each person's sense of self-esteem. Everyone has their own desire to be respected by others, to receive applause from others, and to be recognized. To be envied by others. Everyone has this kind of emotional value within them. Here, this represents the Zi Wei Star, which is like the emperor. Everyone has their own little emperor inside their heart, hoping to be praised by others, hoping others will make them shine, hoping people will think, wow, you're amazing. Something like that. So this represents the Zi Wei Star. Doesn't everyone have these feelings, right? Everyone does. Even that person you usually think doesn't care about their appearance, who has a really easygoing personality, or even the one in the whole class who gets bullied by everyone. He also has his own sense of self-respect. Everyone does. All the Dao Shu stars use this concept. From the natal chart, we can tell, because the chart is something you're born with, given by the heavens. From birth, we can know where our true heart lies. For example, there's someone who, when going out with friends, can be the one who runs errands for everyone in the group, serving others. At work, he doesn't need to compete for his position. Or among all his siblings at home, he is the most inconspicuous, the quietest, the one who never stands out. However, when he's with his girlfriend, he constantly tries to show off, saying things like, actually, I'm really impressive. Or when he's choosing a partner, he always picks someone that makes others go, wow, that's your girlfriend? Someone everyone would envy. Why is that? It's because of his Zi Wei Star or his spouse palace. In Buddhist astrology, the spouse palace represents relationships. For him, relationships are all about face and self-esteem, so he might not care about anything else, but when it comes to his romantic partner, he absolutely needs someone he feels proud to show off. I want others to envy me, and that becomes very important. So, when my Zi Wei Star is in this position, I really care about whether the partner I find is outstanding. I care a lot about whether people will be envious of my partner because that's where my self-esteem lies. Similarly, if today the Zi Wei Star is in my wealth palace, then it means what is the wealth palace? It's about how I spend money, how I make money, and where the money goes. So if the Zi Wei Star is in the wealth palace, it means that my job for making money, for example in Taiwan, selling fish at the market, can earn you several times more than a typical office worker. But if his Zi Wei Star is in the wealth palace, he might feel that selling fish at the market doesn't sound as impressive as working in the 101 Tower, or at a big bank, or at a major corporation, somewhere you can tell people, wow, you work at that company. In that case, he might think, I'd rather earn a little less and choose a job like that. I can talk about it proudly. I can make everyone envy the company I work for. Similarly, when it comes to the wealth palace, it's the same thing. If his Zi Wei Star is in the wealth palace, the way he spends money is also about making people think, wow, you use such nice things, because it's a matter of face. Of course, whether he can actually use nice things depends on his real income, right? He might not actually earn that much, so when he uses nice things compared to someone who makes a lot of money and also uses nice things, well, the person who earns a lot can casually buy something much more expensive than the person who earns less, right? So within his reasonable means, he'll try his best to use better things or things he considers tasteful, things he thinks others will envy, all within his financial limits. Now, when it comes to the career palace represents our attitude toward life. It reflects the pursuits of daily life and the main way your life is presented. So generally, the career palace is said to represent your job because after we grow up, most people know us because of our work. If you like art, you might become a designer or an artist because that's the pursuit of your life. So if the Zi Wei Star is in the career palace, then of course it refers to you will really hope to have something that everyone envies, something that makes people think you're great. Of course, there are some things to consider here. Everyone has a different idea of what makes them enviable. The key is that this job must make them feel truly satisfied with themselves. Many students have asked, so how is this different from working in financial reporting? Financial reporting companies make money by spending money, so how do I make money in this context? Here, it's more about the sense of achievement at work. The social status that comes from your job is something that needs to be admired by others. And then, what about the 11th house? The 11th house represents my relationships with friends and the kind of friends I want to make. So regarding my relationships with friends, if my Zi Wei Star is in the 11th house, it means that I want everyone in my circle of friends to think highly of me, for everyone to admire me. I also want to associate with friends who are outstanding people. Just think about it. The friends I make all have social status, so wouldn't my other friends envy me and say, oh, you actually know so-and-so? So people like this hope that their friends are all quite capable. Similarly, if it's in the property palace refers to one's living environment at home and their relationship with family members. So doesn't this mean that this person will arrange their home environment quite nicely so that when friends come over, they'll say, wow, so this is your place. Your furniture is beautiful. Where did you buy it? Your sound system is really expensive, things like that. Similarly, it also relates to their relationship with family members, which means that this person usually hopes to be respected at home, in the hearts of their family members. They want everyone to admire them. If it's the children palace, it usually represents your views on your children and what else. If you go out to have fun, where do you want to stay? So what would you buy? What things are yours, your possessions? If it's the children palace, it usually means that they hope their children will make others say, wow, your child is so beautiful, or your child is so good at studying. Whatever they buy, they hope it's something trendy or popular, or everyone wants others to think, wow, where did you find this limited edition luxury item? Because they want others to envy them. The same goes for their living environment. When I go out to have fun, I hope that the environment around me within my means is very nice and beautiful. Then when I take photos and check in, people will say, wow, how did you end up in such a luxurious place? Similarly, when it comes to where I live, I usually wouldn't choose some remote poor area. I would think, oh, so I live next to such and such a place. This refers to, next, let's talk about the parents' palace. What does parents mean? This refers to how we view what kind of father we have and our relationship with our father. So usually when the Zi Wei Star is in the parents' palace, it tends to mean that I think my father is someone I find really great. Of course, whether your father is actually that good is another matter. If it's in the siblings' palace, the siblings' palace usually refers to my relationship with my siblings, as well as what kind of person my mother is. People also generally feel that their mother should be pretty good. So typically, if it's in places like the servants' palace, the parents' palace, or the siblings' palace, and the Zi Wei Star is present there, you also tend to mention it more easily. For example, if my servant's palace has the Zi Wei Star, I often tell people about who I know. If the siblings' palace has the Zi Wei Star, I usually talk about what my mother is like, saying things like, my mum is very beautiful. That's usually how it goes. Because of that star, you end up talking about these things to others. Next, what does it mean if the Zi Wei Star is in the fortune palace? The fortune palace represents our spirit and soul, and also where our money goes, what we spend it on. A lot of people can't understand this. Why would your spirit and soul be related to where you spend your money? Well, think about it. When you're under a lot of stress, isn't it easy to spend money? When you buy something, don't you feel happy, right? People often feel that things like spirit and soul are hard to grasp, but actually it's just your mood, your emotions, your feelings, things like that. So when I buy something, I feel happy. And if I lose money investing in stocks, I feel bad, I feel a lot of pressure, and I can't sleep. So what we're talking about here is the fortune palace. If the fortune palace has the Zi Wei Star, it usually means that I want the things I buy to be things that everyone thinks are great, so I always choose carefully. It also means that I care a lot about my inner self. When I know the Zi Wei Star is in the fortune palace, usually it tends to be more likely to want to understand what their inner world is really like. And some people are even willing to study Zi Wei Doshu because of the Zi Wei Star. If it's in the illness palace, what does that mean? Aside from the complicated aspects of analyzing the body, the main point is how you treat your body. So if this star is in the illness palace, it usually means that this person, for example, is very afraid of pain because their body is like an emperor. They will hope that the things they eat, the places they live, and anything in daily life that involves their body all need to be very luxurious. They really don't want to get hurt and they don't want to be too tired and so on. So we often joke that, according to Zi Wei Doshu, most human illnesses, except for infectious diseases and injuries, are inherited. So if the Zi Wei Star is in the illness palace, we often joke that it's easy for them to get the kinds of illnesses that emperors get. What are the illnesses that emperors get? Well, it's like this. They get affluent diseases or diabetes, for example, high blood pressure. These are illnesses you get from living too well. Okay, so through this, as long as you understand that Zi Wei represents your self-esteem, the area where you want others to admire you, then wherever it is placed in your chart, that's the aspect of life you want people to envy. You want everyone to think, wow, so that's what it's like. You're amazing, you have this kind of environment, or you have this kind of partner. By using this kind of logic, as long as we know what each star represents, then we know where it's placed. Oh, so this is the kind of person they are. It becomes easy for me to interpret the supposedly complicated Zi Wei Doshu. All right, if you really like this, leave a comment below. Are you this kind of person? Where is your Zi Wei star? Actually, the Zi Wei star doesn't exist on its own. It also has many combinations. Zi Wei with Tanlang, Zi Wei with Pojun, Zi Wei with Qisha, Zi Wei with Tianxiang, Zi Wei with Tianfu. There are all kinds of different combinations. Everyone's unique expression of self-esteem will appear different. Next, let's start from the core and talk about what happens if your self-esteem is combined with Tanlang. Or if your self-esteem is combined with the dream-breaking Pojun, what kind of person would you be? Thank you, everyone.